So this is just a little update on how Stormie's doing. We're going into our 3rd week of board and train next week here. So just a couple days out from that. She has now seen all of our basic training behaviors. So she has seen the sit, heel, down, place, and recall. So we've introduced all of that stuff. So now at this point, we're polishing it all up. We're adding in our 3Ds. So that's going to be distance, distraction, and duration. And that's going to go for all of our behaviors. Most commonly, people use that with just talking about things like sit stays, down stays, place stays. But really, if you think about it, it applies to stuff like the heel as well. And recall too, how far can I recall my dog? How far can I heel with my dog? What can they heel around? Things like that. But she is doing really great. So here we're just kind of working on polishing that heel up. We're at this is probably our first session of polishing in the heel. You can see she's working on a really great flip to finish. And you'll also notice she's a little bit hesitant sometimes leaving that sit by my side to heel. That's because we've been working on a ton of sit stays lately. So she is kind of trying to default to that. She does not take much of a correction. So there she kind of made the wrong choice and got on the wrong side of my leg. The heel for me is always going to be on the left side unless the owner requests the right side. It's just the most common way to do it. So I just use some gentle leash taps. I'm not pulling, just tapping to get her onto that correct side. If I pull, that's going to trigger something called the opposition reflex, and she's just going to pull back 2 times harder. Think of if you're on the edge of a pool and I try to push you into the pool, you're going to push back into me with that same amount of pressure. The dogs are going to be the same way. So we're really just working on finishing up this heel, cleaning it up. And she's doing really good with it. And we've got a very pretty sunset in the background here for no reason too. But I'm just going to kind of keep working with her, keep exposing new things, keep pushing ourselves a little farther, a little longer, a little more. And she's still a puppy too. So the fact that she's going to get all of this nice foundation now is going to really help her in the future as she matures and grows. It's going to make all of these behaviors even more solid because she'll have even more time and history doing all of these behaviors as a baby. So when she's an adult, it's going to be very well set in her behavioral pattern. Once we get to a good place in the heel, the next thing I'm going to really be working on with her is going to be the down and the down stays. She's seen the down, but we definitely have not spent as much time on the down as we have with these other behaviors. So I really want to go back and make sure that she's getting an equal amount of time with everything. That way she's nice and well-rounded in her obedience, and one skill is not, a million times better than another skill. As far as place goes, we probably won't be working on place too much just because she's so good at it. It's such an easy skill. And typically, I don't really do a designated place session. I use it as a rest period for her in between different activities. So if I pull her out and we do some healing, then I might put her on place for 5 or so minutes while I maybe answer a couple emails or eat or do something like that. That way she does have realistic distractions. But that's pretty much her resting. And then after that rest period, I'll pull her out. We'll either do more heal or some sits. Or just work on something else. And that way she's not getting overtired during our training sessions because we've got that nice session of rest, but we're also using that rest period effectively and continuing to build a useful skill for her instead of her just kind of hanging out in the kennel. I do make sure she does have, a good amount of kennel rest periods. That's a nice, deep, take a nap kind of rest period. And she choked on some food there. She is totally fine. We just took a little pause. She did not sit though. It's fine for her to stand up and choke a little bit there on that piece of food, but I do want to see her going back into that sit once she recovers herself. But she's pretty good with the sit on cue with stopping with the walk. I don't tell her to sit when I stop walking. That's a cue in itself, is when I stop, you stop. And I find that's really useful for most pet owners because you don't know if you're going to run into a neighbor on the street. You're going to want to stop for a second, or even just crossing things like streets. You don't want to be trying to wrestle your dog back while you're trying to cross a busy road. It's much nicer to just have them sit down and be chill for a second while you do whatever you need to do. And she's getting a little bit tired at this point in the session. But there's kind of a balance of, yes, we don't want the dog to be too tired when they're working, but we also want them to have discipline when they are tired. So I usually will work the dog a little bit past when they start kind of getting a little bit tired in the session, because I want her to know just because you're getting sleepy does not mean that you can just do whatever you want and act a fool.